Donald Trump also is very upset about the Ron DeSantis angle of this, and does not like the fact that Ron DeSantis is being floated as the true leader now of the Republican Party, or that he should be, right? That he could be the future. Well, it looks like polling is starting to back that up a little bit. We saw the donor class and the pundits get behind DeSantis after the midterm results, but polling of the actual voters may be revealing, we just have one right now, but a similar trajectory. For Mediaite, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis beat former President Donald Trump by a convincing 7 points in a post-midterm poll, a brutal swing of 29 points from a similar poll days earlier. According to a new YouGov poll taken after the midterms and published Saturday, quote, more Republicans and Republican-leaning independents now say they'd prefer DeSantis at 42% as their 2024 presidential nominee over Trump than say they'd prefer Trump to DeSantis. 42% to 35%. Now, as it highlights, that's a big swing. The pollster notes that a 17-point swing from a Yahoo News YouGov poll taken a month ago. So 17-point swing. That's isolating. Do you prefer DeSantis or Trump, or DeSantis to Trump, or vice versa? And I think that's where you see a big difference. Not only do you have the midterm effect where people see the negative outcomes that happened to Trump-backed candidates or very pro-MAGA candidates, and then see how well DeSantis did and say maybe he would be a better shot in 2024. But on top of that, you take out in that poll, it seems, the role that all these other candidates would play, and you just isolate to, would you prefer DeSantis over Trump or Trump over DeSantis? And I think that makes sense, those numbers panning out that way, where a lot of the more moderate people go with DeSantis, even though DeSantis is by no means moderate, even within Republican terms. But then a lot of the hardcore Trump people, maybe some of them are shifting, right? And that's a very interesting dynamic, and hopefully that'll force DeSantis to want to run in this presidential cycle so that Trump and DeSantis can tear each other apart. That's what we want. Don't forget, though, as we discuss this, and if we do go into a possible primary where DeSantis is trying to pretend that he's way better than Trump, this was what he did when he was campaigning for governor. Look how cringy this ad was, just licking the boots of Trump as thoroughly as he possibly could.
Everyone knows my husband Ron DeSantis is endorsed by President Trump, but he's also an amazing dad. Ron loves playing with the kids.
Build the wall.
He reads stories.
Then Mr. Trump said, "You're fired." I love that part.
He's teaching Madison to talk.
Make America great again.
People say Ron's all Trump, but he is so much more.
Big league. So good.
I just thought you should know.
Ron DeSantis for governor.
So, hey, I'm a rounded out guy. I'm also a dad. Look at me showing my children how much they should love Donald Trump. That was what he did to get elected as governor. So let's remember that whenever he all of a sudden tries to pretend he's something so much more than just a Trump lapdog. Here is Mary Trump, of course, niece of Donald Trump, saying if DeSantis chooses to run against Trump, despite the fact I just showed you that polling that looks like that would be a good chance for DeSantis, Mary Trump believes Trump would still prevail.
On the issue of 2024, there's a lot of chatter around, including on Fox, about is he going to be the candidate or is it going to be Ron DeSantis? We're seeing a lot of fawning coverage of Ron DeSantis, not just on Fox, but even in some liberal media outlets already building him up. Personally, I am skeptical that Ron DeSantis can beat Donald Trump. As much as I don't like your uncle, I will recognize that in 2016, he did wipe the floor, the debate stage, with all sorts of Ron DeSantis type politicians, the Jeb Bushes, the Scott Walkers, the Chris Christie, people who were supposed to be the future of the party, and he just destroyed them with an insult or a name call or some other nonsense. Do you believe that Ron DeSantis can beat Donald Trump? Personally, I don't think he can, but what's your view?
No, I don't think he can at all. Don't get me wrong. I think he's as dangerous, but I don't think he plays nationally. He doesn't have any charisma, which unfortunately Donald does have. That might be about the only thing he does have at this point. And Donald made it clear last week that he's perfectly comfortable digging up dirt well, he might already have dirt. God knows what else was in those documents he stole from the United States government. But then he has information about Ron DeSantis that could prove problematic for a potential candidate.
That's definitely a fascinating dynamic. But yeah, so here's the reason why her analysis is somewhat apt. Trump does have a record, at least in the 2015-2016 campaign, of being able to tear GOP candidates apart. Now, I think he's so much more politically damaged now than he was then. And back then, he could pretend that he was everything and anything the GOP base wanted him to be. And now he actually has some record to be compared to and whenever he makes promises. And that is definitely a different reality to be running in. But he is good at tearing people down who seem to be rising stars when he's running for president, as he did during that campaign. And so I think there's a difference between polling before they've actually really gone full frontal attack on each other. Trump's kind of started on DeSantis, but DeSantis hasn't on Trump. And when you're actually in a primary going against each other. And we'll be watching that, obviously, super, super closely. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before any of the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get access to an extra full show every Saturday that only members can see, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Luke Beasley. That's patreon.com/Luke Beasley, and there is a link in the description.